Hey there, and welcome back to another update for PiFire. This time, it's October 2022, and we have a brand new release, version 1.3.5, which has been in development for a few months now. So lots and lots of features to go over in this new release, and we'll go ahead and sort of jump in straight away to the dashboard. The first feature we're going to go over today is the Prime feature. The Prime feature allows you to load a few pellets into the fire pot, and so you can get a nice initial smoke out of your grill, or maybe you just want to move some new pellets into the fire pot before you get your cook started, or at least get your auger full. So you can do that in a couple of different ways. But first off, we'll take a look at the dashboard. You can start by just priming. You can use one of these options. You can prime 10 grams, 25 grams, or 50 grams, and then stop. Or you can choose to prime 10 grams, 25 grams, or 50 grams, and then go into startup mode. So I like this one when I'm getting started. It makes it real simple for me to get the fire pot loaded with a few pellets before I get started. It gets that really nice initial smoke. And so if you've got something that you want to take on a lot of smoke early on in the cooking process, maybe it's nice and cold when you put it on the grill, this is a good way to get that done. You can also do this from the display. If you have buttons or an encoder attached to your display, you can select Prime. So again, here you can select 10, 25, 50 grams, or you can do the same values and start up the grill. Okay, and so that's a fun new feature, and real simple, but hopefully will be something that a lot of people get good use out of in the future. Another quick feature that we added to this release is actually in the pellet manager. So we'll go right there. You'll see that we've added the estimated usage of pellets since the last reload. So PiFire will start to keep track of the auger on time and actually calculate based on the auger rate how many pellets you've actually loaded into the fire pot since you last loaded it up. So anytime you go and load new pellets, this is going to reset this counter. But it's just a handy way to track to see what the burn rate is for your particular grill. If you want to go and set up the actual auger rate, which we use to calculate this, this is going to be in the settings, and then go down to pellets, and at the bottom here we've added auger rate. So that you can use this to calculate, or the PiFire will use this to calculate the amount of pellets that are dispensed by the auger. So this is grams per second. And roughly here you can see it's about 10 grams every 3 seconds. Another new great feature that we added is something called Go-To Mode After Startup. This allows you to customize what mode you go into after startup. Most pellet smokers will go straight into smoke mode after starting up, and this is fine for most people. However, if you want a little more control over what happens right after the startup mode, we can now go to hold mode after startup by simply selecting this drop down, selecting hold mode, and you can set a temperature, whatever temperature you want to go to right after startup. And PiFire will get the startup mode going, and then we'll transition directly into hold mode. If that's not for you, you can leave it at the default, straight into smoke mode, and that's fine as well. So just a cool option for anybody who wants to go straight into hold mode. In the latest update, we also have an addition that comes from a contributor. Thank you to Callan Merck, I hope I'm saying that correctly, for adding the new notifications capability, which is known as Apprise. Now, Apprise is a special Python library that actually will allow you to send notifications to lots and lots of different kinds of notification services. So it's not just one single service like some of these others that we have listed here, and eventually we may actually switch over to using a prize for all of our notifications. But in general, it allows you to enter in a special type formatted URL that allows you to send specific notifications from PiFire to other services, things like Discord, emails, etc. So it's pretty great. Another cool feature with this release is timers on the 320 by 240 display. And it's not the normal timers that we have for timing sections of your cook, but it's timing the different modes and how much time is left in those modes. So for example, when you do a typical startup, so let's go ahead and do that now. You'll notice that at the top of the 320 by 240 display, there's a countdown timer. And this countdown timer is basically telling me that I have a certain amount of seconds left in my startup cycle. Now, this is just a development system, so it's got a very short startup cycle. But in your system, it might be 240 seconds, something like that, as it's going through that startup cycle. And then the same thing would occur on shutdown, for example. So say I want to shut down the system, then you'll see that shutdown timer at the top of the display. Just a nice convenient way to see how much time you have left in this particular mode, and just a really cool way for you to be able to sort of manage your grill. Another feature I'm really excited to share is the new cook file feature. You can find this in the history, status, and history graphs page. Here, you'll notice we don't have a cook running, so it states that the grill is inactive and there's no actual graph here being displayed. But down here below that, you'll see a list of cook files. And the cook files are recordings basically of the last cook that you may have done. So it provides some more detailed information about the cook, and allows you to add things like photos and comments to that, which is pretty cool. So first of all, on this list, you'll see all the previous cooks listed, and by default it's going to show the last cook that you did at the very top. And then you can change that sort order if you want to by clicking the sort order button. You can also change how many to display on the screen if you want. And you can also cycle through pages as well here. In the action menu over here on the left hand side, you can delete a cook file if you want, using the little trash can icon. There is an icon here to send to the cloud that's not yet implemented, but in the future I'm hoping to have it implemented so that we can send cook files to something like a Google Drive or something else. And then in addition, you can download your cook files to your local computer if you want to have a copy of it, or store some copies of the cook files there. And then last but not least, you can open the cook file and sort of take a look. So inside cook files, you'll see the sort of about card, which gives you more information about the particular cook. You can go here, you can change the name of this cook to something else. It'll come up with a default. It's basically the same as the file name, but if you want to change it, you change it here and you click the little save icon. You can change the thumbnail, so you can click here and click little arrows to choose what thumbnail you'd like to select. You can upload a thumbnail if you want to. On the probes section, you can actually rename the probes. So if I had been using the probes for this particular cook, I could change the name to whatever I was cooking. Click save here, and it updates the graph information you see down here. So you see that probe 1 temp is actually now called bfribs. So that's pretty neat. In addition, you can see we've got the full graph of the entire cook. And this is nearly 6 hours of cook here, which is pretty cool. You can see the full detail. You can zoom in, you can click and drag and pan around. If you have a touch screen, you can actually touch your screen and pan around, pinch to zoom kind of thing here. You see you've got the annotations of the different modes. So I had 3 different hold modes in this particular cook, and so you can kind of see how things played out. You can also download your information or all the data into a CSV file if you want to go slice and dice in something like Excel or one of the free Office packages. You can also take a look at the events history, so this gives you more details about each of the particular modes, so startup, hold, etc. And click into these information tabs, and it gives you more information about the particular mode. So there may be more specific information, for example, on hold mode. So you can look at the raw data as well if you're a real geek and want to see all of the JSON information underneath. It gives you totals. So in this case, I used about 3.3 pounds for this particular cook. And I think the time is maybe perhaps not super accurate, but we got 5 hours and 35 minutes. Alright, and then down in the comments section you can see we've got comments with some photos that I took before and after the cook, and this is just kind of fun because you can add things like your recipe, your preparation steps. You can talk about whether or not it was good or not, and despite the fact that these look pretty good, I wasn't terribly pleased with these beef ribs, but they did get a nice smoke on them, and they, you know, in general tasted okay, but not my favorite. But anyway, you can add comments. You can also add media down here, so you can add media from your computer. You can browse from different media sources as usual and hit upload when you're ready. You can upload multiple files. Right now the file size limit is, I think, lower than 1 megabyte, so you do have to generally resize your photo files a little bit smaller. And then last but not least, you can delete specific files from the cook file, or sorry, delete certain images from the cook file if you want to. And that'll remove them from the comments too if you have them up there. So pretty cool. The documentation has also been updated with the cook file format, and for those of you who are developers or just want to get more information about the actual nitty-gritty of how the cook files are built, you can take a look here in the documentation. We've got kind of the start of trying to document the structure of how cook files are built. And the idea here is that other projects that have similar functionality, or even commercial products, if they wanted to use this cook file format, it is absolutely open source and it is freely available for anybody to use free of charge. So hopefully you can see some adoption of folks using this, and even perhaps somebody, if somebody wants to take it on themselves to create some desktop applications or other maybe phone applications to parse these files and display the files or edit the files in the future, that would be great as well. So looking forward to building out more capabilities in the cook file, and we'll continue to update this page as that happens. In this release we have a bunch of new features that you can get from your existing hardware. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So let's go ahead and launch the PiFire configuration wizard, and we'll show you what's new. So I'm going to go ahead and click into the probe input section for the ADS 1115 we actually added a new couple of new modules here that support the Adafruit Circuit Python library instead of the sort of standard library that we were using. This is due to the fact that we have seen some ADS 1115s that have been ordered on Amazon behaving rather strangely and may require the Adafruit libraries to handle them properly. In addition, there was some worry that potentially some of these parts that are being shipped out by Amazon or other maybe Chinese sellers are actually using the ADS 1015 instead of the 1115, which is a 12-bit DAC or 12-bit ADC. And so we've added this particular module to support those as well. In addition, we also have some changes to the displays. So if you go and look at any of the 320 by 240 displays, like the ILA 9341 TFT display, we've actually added 90-degree and 270-degree rotation back into the mix. And this is pretty cool. So it led to some redesigns of the display module, and let's take a look. So here you can see the newly rotated display, very similar to the other horizontal display, but we have it in a vertical sort of orientation instead. So this is available by using the display rotation options in the config wizard. One last update as part of the configuration wizard. We've had a really big contribution from the contributor Weberbox. He's provided us with the ability to use 4 probes instead of 3 probes. This gives us the option to use a second grill probe, which can be used in addition to the existing grill probe to do either an average or as a entirely separate grill probe to rely upon instead of the other grill probe. So this could be used in situations where you may have 2 grill probes that you want to average out to get a better idea of what the full cook chamber temperature is. Really cool idea here. And this is implemented using Weberbox's PCB design, or original version 3.0 PCB design. Also from Weberbox, he has implemented PWM support. So again, with a really fantastic brand new PCB design that he's created, he has the ability to run a 12-volt PWM fan, and this is what I would say is maybe the beginning of a really cool capability to control the fan speeds over the cook time and perhaps allow new capabilities. So this is something here that can be selected through the configuration wizard, and you can select PWM support and 4 probes or 3 probes here as well. Now consider you'll probably want to have his new PCB design to be able to get this capability, or you want to make sure your hardware supports it. But really cool. Looking forward to doing more testing on this myself in the future when I get a version of his board. And that about wraps it up. Of course, there was a lot of bug fixes that went into this particular release and a ton of cleanup. Big thanks and shout out to Weberbox for all of the cleanup that he did behind the scenes on all the code, fixing all of my sloppy coding mistakes. And we had a couple of new contributors to the codebase this time. I mentioned prior Callan Merck, who contributed the Apprise functionality, and P. Lazarch, I hope I say that correctly, also contributed the new Adafruit module for the ADS 1115 and ADS 1015 which is great. And unfortunately, stumbled upon the issues with those ADS components. But anyway, it's a big release. I want to say thanks to everybody that contributed, and hopefully everything goes smoothly with this. But if it doesn't, please definitely submit your issues on GitHub, and we'll definitely try to get those fixed. Thanks again for making it to the end of this video, and enjoy the new release.